Look at this, 10 days until the NFL draft. Can't wait. And Matt Miller releasing his final player rankings today. We're going to take a look at the wide receiver spot. We've been talking wide receivers a little bit today. And Miller has Travis Hunter at number 1, followed by Missouri's Luther Burden ranking number 13 overall. Matthew Golden, 3rd overall at number 16. And then Teteroa McMillan ranks 22nd, Emeka Egbuka 23rd. Dan, give me a perfect team fit for one of those top receivers.
Yeah, I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, the Jacksonville Jaguars no longer Christian Kirk. They have Brian Thomas Jr. on the outside. I believe that Liam Cohen, their head coach, is going to run their offense through BTJ, but they really do need that person to win and work the middle of the field. Trevor Lawrence, another massive year for him. Egbuka's got great body control. He understands color and space, when to run through zones and when to sit versus them. And I think the way that he could talk to a quarterback with his body language about winning on routes is a perfect match in that offense and that quarterback.
All right, I'm going to mention a player who was not on the Matthew Miller board in terms of the top 100. That's Kyle Williams, the Washington State receiver. For the LA Chargers, I do not think they're going to take a receiver in the first round. Later in the draft, however, there are some intriguing options for them. I particularly like Williams because of his ability to separate at all 3 levels, but downfield is where he makes his hay. He's explosive, and the LA Chargers need an explosive player so that Justin Herbert, with his cannon arm, can push the ball downfield. Really like him complementing Ladd McConkey as the Z in that offense. I think they can get value later in the draft.
I love it. Now we're going to transition to Mina and Dan's favorite part of the show so far. Tight ends in this draft. Matt Miller is high on Colston Loveland. Ooh. He's got the Michigan tight end top in his positional rankings and 6th overall. Tyler Warren isn't far behind at 9th overall. Mason Taylor is his number 3 tight end, but he's 34th overall. Only other one in the top 60 is Miami's Elijah Arroyo. He ranks 61st overall. So, Mina, which tight end prospect do you think projects as the best player at the next level?
Oh, this is going to sound like a cop-out answer, but I think that Colston Loveland has the higher floor and Tyler Warren has the higher ceiling. Tyler Warren is like a human monster truck with the football in his hands. And I think in the right situation, Dan, with the right play caller, he can take over football games in the NFL the way he did in college. He just has such a unique physical set of tools. But Colston Loveland, to me, he's a little bit more plug and play. He's more of a traditional inline tight end, good blocker, and is a really, really special route runner at his size, terrific hands. So I feel like it's going to really come down to where they end up. There's a couple destinations I really love for Tyler Warren, including Chicago. If he lands in the right place, it's Tyler Warren, but only if.
I love all 3 of them. I think all 3 of them are going to be first 2-round picks, Mason Taylor being that 3rd one. I think Tyler Warren has such a Trey McBride feel to him. McBride started this last year in Arizona to just be like, hey, just find a way to get him the football. I don't care how you do it, just get him the ball. Tyler Warren has that. And the unique thing, MK, was like, they didn't just like line him up by himself that much. They would motion him. They'd get him into stacks and bunches. They would kick the ball in screens. He would work the middle of the field. Colston Loveland, after watching him, was a little bit interesting to me because I was like, oh, you're the guy that they would go single out one-on-one and go create matchups one-on-one for. And so he reminds me a little of Sam Laporta coming out of Iowa, obviously the Detroit Lions tight end. So I like those 2 players a ton. Mason Taylor reminds me of Dallas Goedert from the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Tyler Warren's probably the guy just because I think you could just do so much and get him the football so often in today's NFL.
I think this speaks to how much you both love this tight end class and especially the top of it. But, like, both of you are kind of copping out here. You said Tyler Warren. Like, if I'm holding your feet to the fire, you got to pick a tight end. Tyler Warren. Mina, you got to pick one.
Tyler Warren.
It's your team, and you got to pick one.
And Trey McBride was a great comp because he landed in the perfect situation with the perfect play caller, right? Drew Petzing, like, he loved putting multiple tight ends on the field. So if Tyler Warren is in a place like that, like Chicago, then, yeah, Tyler Warren. But if he's on some offense where they're just putting him in line and telling him to block, it's not going to be Tyler Warren.
I think Miami's an interesting place for him, too, just because they need to get a little bit more physical at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, man. You guys are making me really excited. I'm already excited about the draft. But anyway, all right. So this year's NFL draft is in Greenfield.
On my shoulder, got something to prove out there.
You can't bring him down! What can Ashton Genty do?
Every opportunity that I get with the ball in my hands, I take pride in that.
Are you serious? Put up the numbers, young man. You can make that pose.
You know, Mel Kiper Jr. has 5 running backs going in the first 2 rounds of his mock draft 4.0, including Boise State and, of course, Heisman Trophy finalist Ashton Jeanty, number 6 overall to the Raiders. Now, the Raiders finished last in rushing yards per game and last in yards per rush last season. For more on those talented running backs, we bring in our draft analyst, Matt Miller, here at the Sports Center. All right, Matt. Guess the question is, how many running backs you believe will be taken in the first round this year?
Yeah, I would say Ashton Jeanty is a lock, as is Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. So 2 locks at the running back position. You mentioned Jeanty is so special and will be a top 10 pick, whether that's to the Raiders at 6 or the Chicago Bears at 10. And then Hampton comes into play as early as pick number 12 with the Dallas Cowboys. But teams like the Denver Broncos and Los Angeles Chargers also have a need for a running back in round 1. And we have to mention Trevion Henderson from Ohio State, as well as a potential sleeper to jump back up into round 1. Those teams at the back end, maybe even Buffalo with James Cook's contract situation. So we'll see 2, but we might see 3 in a running back class that is as deep as any I've ever evaluated.
You know, there was a resurgence of the running back in the NFL this past season. Hard to believe there were no running backs taken in the first round of last year's NFL draft. Okay, so now let's switch to the opposite side of the football and talk about defense. And former Penn State Nittany Lion, Abdul Carter. You know, he's bounced around in the top 4. Why the fluctuation?
A lot of that is just team need. We've seen the Tennessee Titans really zero in on the quarterback position. The Cleveland Browns at 2 could definitely still take Abdul Carter, but it feels like they're set on adding Travis Hunter, who won the Heisman Trophy, at wide receiver, and also to play a little bit of corner. I think for Abdul Carter, we're looking at a range of 3 or 4 overall. It's a very small range. He visited the New York Giants last week. They definitely have a need for another pass rusher opposite Brian Burns, moving Kayvon Thibodeau to more of a third down role. And then the New England Patriots with Mike Vrabel at number 4. I think the Patriots would be ecstatic if somehow Carter slips him in that 4 spot so they could begin to build a defense under Mike Vrabel. But my suspicion is Carter will be a Giant at pick number 3.
Well, you know, Penn State's last top 5 pick.
I always got a chip on my shoulder. Got something to prove out there.
You can't bring him down! What can Ashton Jeanty do?
Every opportunity I get with the ball in my hands, I take pride in that.
Are you serious? Put up the numbers, young man. You can make that pose.
Ashton Jeanty, headlining the deepest running back draft class in almost 2 decades. Scouts Inc. has 11 running backs in their top 100, the most since 2008. And that draft class, man, that was a good one. It was so deep that Jamal Charles was picked in the 3rd round. He ended up, of course, being a 2-time All-Pro. Other big names, including Chris Johnson and Matt Forte. So here to help us sort out the stacked class of 2025 is NFL draft analyst Jordan Reed. And Jeanty has deservedly received the most attention among running backs in this draft cycle. But Jordan, give us 3 other names that we should be paying attention to.
Yeah, Hannah, this is a stacked running back class, really the best one since 2017, but some early names to keep an eye on, especially in the early rounds. The first one is Trevion Henderson to the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler in the backfield right now. Both of those guys are both on the final year of their contract, so Henderson is one name I think they're going to be really interested in. It would not surprise me if he's that 3rd running back that goes in the 1st round behind Ashton Jeanty as well as Omarion Hampton. So keep an eye on him at number 29 overall. Staying in that Ohio State backfield, I'm going to go with Quinshon Judkins to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys obviously have a huge need for a young bell cow running back in their backfield. Keep in mind, he ran a 4.48 at 6 foot 221 pounds. He really helped himself coming out of the scouting combine. He's an aggressive, high energy and physical runner that I think can help the Cowboys right away. Number 44 overall in the 2nd round is where I would keep an eye on with that. And then lastly, Caleb Johnson to the 49ers. This is a match made in heaven just because that Kyle Shanahan outside zone scheme, he's a one cut and go runner. He's perfect for that scheme. And the 49ers historically have liked to target running backs in the 3rd and 4th rounds. They have 2 picks in the 3rd round and then also the 4th round. So Caleb Johnson definitely is a name to keep an eye on. Number 75 overall in the 3rd round. I think they could look to target him at that spot.
By the way, Jordan has a 7-round mock coming out on the 21st. So going deep with the knowledge there. Running back clearly has some quality in this draft. But I'm wondering, Jordan, which position has the least depth where teams are going to have to hop on it early if they have a need?
For me, it would be linebacker. There just isn't that marquee name outside of Jahad Campbell of Alabama in this year's draft class. And Campbell, I think he's far and away the best linebacker in this year's draft class. But if you look at some other names, Carson Schlesinger of UCLA is another name that's creating a lot of intrigue. Demetrius Knight, I think Tampa Bay could look to target him somewhere in the 3rd or the 4th round. Danny Stutzman of Oklahoma is another name that is really intriguing scouts already. But keep an eye on Smile Munden Jr. out of Georgia. And if there's one thing I can guarantee the Eagles do in the draft, it is drafting a Georgia defender. That's something that they love to do. But Jahad Campbell is my only linebacker with a 1st-round grade. He could go as high as the Atlanta Falcons at number 15 overall. He recently had shoulder surgery, so that could force him to go down the board a little bit. But if teams trust who he can be on the next level, I think he could go as high as the Falcons at 15 overall. He'd be a good fit there.
Yeah, only 3 linebackers among Scouts Inc.'s top 100 prospects. Just to give you an example of how much this man here on your screen knows, he actually predicted Brock Purdy as Mr. Irrelevant. Not so.
Today we have an important update about the Minnesota Vikings, who have been holding pre-draft visits, and this time they've met with a promising wide receiver. In this video, I'll tell you all the details about this young talent and what it could mean for the future of the franchise. Don't miss out on everything you need to know about the potential next addition to the Vikings. Before we dive into the main story, there's something else you should know. The Vikings have only 4 picks in the 2025 NFL Draft, which puts them in a somewhat challenging position. However, this could be the perfect time to make trades and add more options to improve their roster. Despite this, their goal remains to secure the best available talent. This context makes their meeting with the rookie receiver even more significant. The receiver the Vikings have met with is Trayshawn Holden, who stood out at the University of Oregon. Holden, with an impressive physique of 6 feet 3 inches and 214 pounds, has shown potential, especially in the red zone. Although his speed isn't the most remarkable, his ability to create separation due to his size and movement makes him an interesting option for the Vikings. Additionally, he's working on fine-tuning his route tree, something crucial for his future in the NFL. Now, I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you think Trayshawn Holden could be a good pickup for the Vikings, considering his skills and potential? Or would you prefer the team to focus on other players to strengthen the offense? Leave us your comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more NFL news. Now, let's get into the main news that's really making waves. The Vikings are making significant moves to strengthen their roster, and this receiver could be key. Let's see what this means for their future. The Minnesota Vikings, who are preparing for the 2025 draft, have shown interest in Trayshawn Holden, a receiver who, although not projected to be selected in the early rounds, could be a great addition in the near future. His ability to use his size and speed on the field makes him an intriguing candidate, and his potential to be an X-receiver on the team could be just what the Vikings need to continue growing. This interest from the Vikings in Holden could have significant implications, especially in their draft strategy. If they eventually sign him as an undrafted free agent, they could be securing a receiver with great potential, but they'd also be showing their confidence in players like Jalen Nailor, who seems to be the future WR3 for the franchise. This decision could set the course for how the franchise handles its offensive options in the coming years. What do you think about this potential addition of Trayshawn Holden? Do you think he could contribute immediately to the Vikings offense, or will his development take more time? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay tuned for more news about the NFL Draft and the upcoming decisions of the Minnesota Vikings. In the next video, we'll bring you more details on how they're preparing to improve their roster. See you soon.